The year was 1963. The world was locked in a tense standoff, a war of ideologies and whispers of nuclear annihilation. This was the Cold War, and nowhere was it more palpable than in the divided city of Berlin. Imagine a city cleaved in two, a concrete barrier slicing through its heart, separating families, friends, and even lovers. On one side, the communist East, shrouded in suspicion and controlled by the Soviet Union. On the other, the capitalist West, a beacon of freedom and opportunity, protected by the Allied powers. This was the reality of Berlin, a microcosm of the global struggle between two opposing forces. The Cold War was not just a political conflict, it was a clash of values, a struggle for the very soul of humanity. It was a time of fear and uncertainty, where the threat of war loomed large over everyday life. Yet, amidst this darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged. The seeds of division were sown after the devastation of World War II. Germany, defeated and broken, was divided among the victors: the United States, Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. Berlin, though located deep within the Soviet sector, was also partitioned, a miniature reflection of the fractured nation. In 1948, the Soviets, seeking to consolidate their control over Berlin, imposed a blockade, cutting off all land and water access to the western sectors. This attempt to starve the West Berliners into submission, however, was met with remarkable resilience. The United States and its allies responded with the Berlin Airlift, a monumental effort that saw supplies flown into the city for over a year. The Berlin blockade was a defining moment in the early years of the Cold War. It demonstrated the resolve of the Western powers and their commitment to protecting the freedom of West Berlin. The Soviets eventually lifted the blockade, but the city and the world were forever changed. As the 1950s gave way to the 1960s, the Cold War continued to cast a long shadow. In 1961, after a tense summit between U.S. President John F. Kennedy and Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, the Berlin Wall was erected, a brutal symbol of division and oppression. The wall, built practically overnight, cut through the heart of the city, separating families and friends, turning neighbors into strangers. It stood as a stark reminder of the human cost of the Cold War, and became a focal point for East Germans desperate to escape to freedom. In 1961, the world watched with bated breath as American and Soviet tanks faced off at Checkpoint Charlie, one of the few crossing points through the Berlin Wall. The standoff, though ultimately resolved peacefully, brought the world to the brink of war and highlighted the fragility of peace in a world on edge. In the midst of this turmoil, a young and charismatic American president emerged as a symbol of hope. John F. Kennedy, deeply moved by the plight of the people of Berlin, decided to visit the city, a gesture of solidarity and support. On June 26, 1963, Kennedy stood before a massive crowd in West Berlin, his words echoing through the streets. There are many people in the world who really don't understand, or say they don't, what is the great issue between the free world and the communist world. Let them come to Berlin. And then, in a moment that would forever be etched in history, Kennedy uttered the words that resonated around the world. Ich bin ein Berliner. I am a Berliner. As a humorous side note, in German, Berliner not only means from Berlin, Berliner is also a German pastry filled with jelly, basically a jelly donut. Kennedy's speech was more than just words. It was a powerful affirmation of freedom and a message of hope to the people of West Berlin. It was a reminder that they were not alone, that the United States stood with them in their struggle against oppression. The Ich bin ein Berliner speech became a defining moment of the Cold War, a rallying cry for freedom and democracy. It solidified Kennedy's legacy as a champion of liberty and inspired people around the world to stand up for their rights. The Berlin Wall may have stood for 28 years, but its days were numbered. The spirit of freedom, ignited by Kennedy's words, eventually proved stronger than any physical barrier. In 1989, the wall came tumbling down, a testament to the enduring power of hope, courage, and the unwavering pursuit of liberty.
Thank you for watching. Hope you found this video informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. We do like to know and hear your feedback. And if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get early access to our videos, and where we post bonus material. Till next time, this is Geeky Tidbits saying cheers and have a good day.